This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Manitoba unveiled its plan today to end chronic homelessness. It involves shutting down encampments one at a time and finding housing for each person. And it means buying and renovating apartment buildings. CBC's Ian Fraze reports.
Even in the bitter cold, people are still living in tents. Wab Canoe says Manitoba can do better.
We're here to say that as a province, the people of Manitoba are no longer satisfied with having people live in tents. Today is a day where we commit to a turning point.
It's called Your Way Home. Manitoba's plan to eliminate chronic homelessness, those who've been without a home for at least 6 weeks. Homelessness advocate Tessa Blakey-Whitecloud will lead the work with dozens of new staff.
Is it ambitious to say that we can end chronic homelessness? Yes. But it's no more ambitious than each person currently living in an encampment or currently experiencing homelessness today saying that they can do it. And this plan believes in them.
Starting in February, workers will start at one encampment in Winnipeg, find homes for everyone, and then move on to the next camp. The province is buying up apartment buildings to create 300 units. One prospective tenant says promised supports like addictions treatment will be key.
More supports on my behalf, so to get, motivation,
The province will also make room for people in encampments by getting some Manitoba housing tenants to move out.
I just find that, appalling.
Shauna McKinnon says giving those tenants rent money so they move into private rentals may not work.
You're making a whole bunch of other people vulnerable. So that's really problematic.
The PCs worry the government isn't ready.
We have frontline workers who are working to the brink, who need support. So my question would be, where are they going to be getting all these extra support and staff to be running these programs?
The province will spend $20 million on this plan over the next 2 years. That's on top of money already spent on housing and mental health supports. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The trial of a man accused of killing his neighbor in 2021 continued today with testimony from the victim's girlfriend. Kristen Wise was emotional at times, remembering the last time she saw Clifford Joseph. Wise says when she woke up on June 7th, 2021, her boyfriend hadn't come to bed and wasn't answering texts. He told her earlier he wanted to steal something from the property of his neighbor, Eric Wildman. So she went looking for him there. She says she found Joseph's shoes, hat, and headlamp. Wildman has pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder. His lawyer says Joseph may have lied about what he was doing that night. Winnipeg police have made an arrest in a disturbing case of animal cruelty. It involves half a dozen cats that were killed and discarded under a bridge on multiple occasions. CBC's Cameron McLean has the latest.
Winnipeg police have charged a 24-year-old man with 3 counts of killing or injuring an animal. This comes after people walking in the area of a bridge on Summit Road found the bodies of dead cats. The bodies were found on 3 separate occasions over the course of a few weeks in December. Some of the animals were left in a bag or lying on the path underneath the bridge. Police say signs of foul play were apparent. The incidents came months after reports of dead cats found in the Point Douglas area. Police are still investigating the Point Douglas incidents, but do not believe they are related to the bodies found on Summit Road. Nor are they connected to the case of a Winnipeg couple charged with injuring and killing animals in videos posted online. But Constable Danny McKinnon told reporters the incidents are disturbing.
We've reported on an awful lot of animal cruelty files, haven't we? And I feel like this is disturbing. It's odd for us to be reading them and releasing them, to write them. And I think for the investigators who deal with them, they are on the top of our minds.
Police say they arrested the man on Friday. They have not released his name, pending a formal court hearing to lay the charges. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba's police watchdog is investigating after a man was shot and killed by RCMP south of Winnipeg. Mounties were called to a home earlier today in Dominion City. Police say an officer was confronted by a 33-year-old man who came out of a garage carrying a metal object. They say despite repeated commands to stop and drop the weapon, the man kept advancing. The officer shot him. He was taken by helicopter to hospital and died. A First Nations man is suing two health authorities and an emergency doctor, accusing them of racism. Justin Flett went to the hospital in the Pas with acute abdominal pain 2 years ago. Instead of getting treatment, Flett says he was dismissed as having a hangover. CBC's Zubina Ahmed reports.
46-year-old Justin Flett from Tataskiwak Cree Nation says he was denied emergency care in the Pas 2 years ago. He said his acute abdominal pain was dismissed as just a hangover. Flett's lawyer, Wilco Zogar, said his client is too upset to speak, so he read a statement on Flett's behalf.
I couldn't believe it. I knew there was something seriously wrong with me, and this doctor just didn't seem to want to take me seriously or to help me. In that moment, I just felt worthless.
Flett had to travel to Winnipeg in a bus where he was diagnosed with appendicitis. He had another long wait for emergency surgery, and that's when his appendix burst. Flett says he now suffers from lifelong gastrointestinal disease. Flett is suing the Winnipeg and Northern Regional Health Authorities. Chanel Carlson is part of his legal team.
When people are treated as less worthy of care or compassion, it not only harms them physically, it undermines the trust in our healthcare system.
AMC Acting Grand Chief Kennedy says Flett's case brings attention to the systemic racism that First Nations people face in getting medical care.
No one should have the fear for their life because of the color of their skin or their place of residence.
MKO Grand Chief Garrison Setti says Flett's experience came just 3 months after signing a declaration to eliminate all forms of Indigenous-specific racism.
Nobody in Canada deserves this kind of treatment, and it's got to stop. It has to stop, and somebody has to stop it, and it begins here.
Setti and the other chiefs hopes this lawsuit holds the entire health system accountable. No statement of defense has been filed. Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A 12-year-old girl has been killed in a snowmobile crash in a remote Northern First Nation. RCMP say it happened Friday evening at God's Lake Narrows. Officers determined a snowmobile was being driven by a 12-year-old boy with a 14-year-old as his passenger. They were pulling a toboggan with 3 12-year-olds on it, but one of those kids was thrown when the toboggan hit a stump. The 12-year-old driver went to the nursing station to get help, but the girl didn't survive. None of the kids were wearing helmets. A new enforcement campaign is targeting drivers who are high on cannabis. The Road Watch campaign is in response to data showing a doubling in the sale of edibles over the past 6 years. Police say edibles take longer to kick in.
Those effects could very well be leading you into the next day. And that's obviously concerning if the next day involves you driving anywhere at any point.
People are urged not to drive for at least 12 hours after consuming edibles. Cops found 43% of drivers who took a roadside oral fluid test last year had cannabis in their system. Canadian curler Brianne Harris has been found not at fault for an anti-doping rule violation. A provisional ban against the Winnipeg athlete has been lifted. Harris won her appeal before the Court of Arbitration for Sport. In the ruling released today, it says Harris was exposed to a banned substance through the exchange of bodily fluids with her husband. Harris has not been on the ice since being notified of her doping violation a year ago. Riley Lachuk in now. Riley, we've been saying we just got to get through these few days. Not even 24 hours now.
No, not even 24 hours. In fact, Brittany, warming up through the overnight period tonight into the morning hours. So looking at the temperature rising today, minus 19 officially at the airport. Downtown actually getting to minus 18 as forecast this afternoon. Temperatures even up the western side of the province, actually fairly seasonal for this time of the year. Minus 13 in Swan River, minus 11 in Dauphin, minus 20 in Brandon. High pressure has kept us clear, but you can start to see that next leading edge of cloud cover is starting to work its way in this ahead of our next weather maker, which in the south at least brings us a chance of flurries through the overnight hours into the early morning. Temperature rising overnight to minus 14 in Winnipeg by tomorrow morning, minus 9. Again, a slight chance of flurries, I think, in the Red River Valley. The further north and east you are in the province, though, the better chances of flurries as we get through the day. And yeah, getting up to +1 tomorrow afternoon. I'll have more on how long this warmth lasts when I come back.
All right, we are waiting for that. Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Still ahead, one Winnipeg man is on a personal pursuit to wipe out hate crime in the city. How he's getting rid of anti-Semitic graffiti and why. More after the break. A Winnipeg man has made it his personal quest to wipe out hate in the city. Avram Sharak initially started getting calls from the Jewish community to remove anti-Semitic graffiti a few years ago. Since then, people have asked him to remove offensive tags of all kinds. CBC's Arturo Chang has the story.
Avram Sharak washes out hate on his own time.
Found 100 anti-Jewish ones, 4 or 5 anti-Indigenous, 1 or 2 anti-Black. In my line of work, we have stuff that can remove graffiti. I'll get one of my friends from the office to bring some over, and I'll go get rid of this.
The Winnipegger started getting calls about anti-Semitic graffiti around the city last year. Since then, he's become a one-man removal crew. He volunteers to remove all kinds of hate, thanks to the cleaning supplies he gets from his job in property management. Today, CBC News came out with him for a cleanup in Charleswood.
Brick is porous, and it can be a little harder to get rid of it from porous surfaces than other surfaces.
How long does it take to remove usually?
In the summer, if it was like a hydro box, which I think we're going by one soon, that I couldn't get all the graffiti off of last month, you can get it off and you let spray sit for 30 seconds or so, and then it usually comes off immediately.
Sharak, a member of Winnipeg's Jewish community, said someone called him to clean up graffiti once, and then...
Lo and behold, a day or two later, Avram, could you get rid of this? And I get emails, I get phone calls, I get tags, hashtags in social media, at Avram, look at this graffiti.
He says his Jewish identity is a motivating factor in cleaning up hate.
I'm one of those people who, if someone needs something in the Jewish community or outside, I try to find a way to help.
This neighbor stops him mid-cleanup to tell him the graffiti here is not an isolated incident.
And on my garage, it was MK with a huge swastika. The first day was Saturday, December 3rd, and I came out in the morning because my son had said someone had graffitied something awful on our garage. And sure enough, there was a very large swastika and the letters MKY on it. And we were mortified. And then we looked across the street. That was tagged. We sort of went for a walk around the neighborhood, and we counted 8 tags altogether.
Sharak says he's noticed more offensive graffiti recently.
I can tell you that up till about 2 years ago, for the sake of argument, we'll call it that, it was rare for me to find out about, and maybe I'm looking more now, but to find out about particularly hateful graffiti, especially to my community. I saw graffiti a lot, but I rarely saw a swastika.
Benai Berith Canada says they've seen an uptick too.
Well, my organization has seen dozens of instances of graffiti recently in Winnipeg. Many of them appear to be being produced by the same group. It's a group which appears to use the initials MKY or similar to identify themselves. It's often been graffiti that's been utilizing the swastika. It's clearly intended to intimidate and to specifically single out the Jewish community.
Sharak says no matter how often the tags crop up, he'll continue to wipe them out.
It's a way of preventing sort of a contagion effect of this spreading.
That's the hope, right? Get rid of the negativity and just leave the positivity.
Arturo Chang, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Today, police say a 19-year-old Winnipeg man has been charged with more than 24 counts of mischief in connection with anti-Semitic graffiti. The teen was arrested Sunday after police got numerous reports of symbols such as swastikas painted on buildings and fences in the Charleswood area over the last few months. A Manitoba high school teacher is going to jail. It comes after the man pleaded guilty to sexual exploitation involving a student. CBC's Chelsea Kemp was in the courtroom today when he was sentenced.
A former Boys of Bain teacher will spend time behind bars for sexual exploitation of a teenage student. Troy Innes pleaded guilty to the historic sex crime, which happened over the course of a year in 2010. He was sentenced Tuesday in a Killarney court to 6 months in jail and 18 months probation. Innes wasn't arrested until December 2021 and was teaching in the Brandon School Division at the time. He pleaded guilty the following November. The judge debated the length of the sentence because at the time of the crime, the minimum sentence was 45 days in custody. That's now been upped to 1 year. While Innes has no prior criminal record and is believed to be at low risk to reoffend, The judge says a message needs to be sent that it's wrong to abuse a teacher's power of authority, saying, the message must be loud and clear that children under their trust are not to be considered potential sexual partners, and to become involved in this type of offending will result in significant consequences. The judge also added that Innes inflicted lifelong harm and trauma on a vulnerable student. The victim, who was a teen at the time, did not provide an impact statement. Chelsea Kemp, CBC News, Boissevain.
Riley's back in now, and along with it warming up, we'll see if we get to that +1. I sure hope so. If you were outside last night in that bitter cold and looked up, you also got a bit of a show.
Oh yeah, you know who did get a bit of a show? Our own Travis Golby.
Yes.
He braved the elements. So we didn't have to.
What a great guy. He does it for us.
Absolutely. So here's a picture that he took. I've got a few others to show you. So here's the one that he took here in Winnipeg last night of the full moon. And I want to draw your attention to this little itty bitty dot right here. This is Mars. And this was just before Mars was eclipsed by the moon, as that lunar eclipse happened last night. Mars being eclipsed, I should say, by the moon briefly as we got through the evening last night. Beverly shot this one, and Carmen, another stellar photo from outside the city last night. And I've got one more to show you. Donna shooting this one in Winnipeg late yesterday afternoon as the moon was rising. So some great shots by folks. You can always send your pics to talkback@cbc.ca. Lucky that we had a clear sky last night. I know that did lead to cold temperatures for many of us across the province, but as we get through the night tonight, we will start to see that cloud filling back in. This ahead of our next weather maker, this area of low pressure making its way along the territorial boundary. Warm front ahead of that. This is what's going to warm our temperatures up as we get through the overnight period into the morning tomorrow. Along with that, I think comes a slight chance we could see some flurries in the Right River Valley and the Northern Interlake as we get through the night last night. Short-lived, we are back to a mainly cloudy sky, some peaks of sunshine tomorrow, and again, a chance we could see a few more flurries as we get later into the evening and into the overnight period, Wednesday into Thursday. Behind that, more cloud cover, conditions that are warmer than seasonal for this time of the year. Ahead of our next weather maker, another area of low pressure out of Alberta, this one stretching across the central prairies. This one, I think, gives us a slight chance of some flurries as we head through the day on Thursday, but I think it's more of a Friday event for Winnipeg, per se. Mainly this wraparound on the back side of this giving us some flurries through the morning hours on Friday, along with some very gusty conditions. Winds into Friday looking like we're looking at northwest 40 gusting to 60. So some heavy winds on the way as we get toward the end of the week. In terms of snowfall, yeah, I did mention that we could see a dusting of snow by the time we wake up tomorrow morning. Most of that, though, into northern Manitoba, 5 to 10 centimeters not out of the question for places like Thompson along the Hudson Bay coast. So some accumulating snow into northern parts of the province. But look at what our temperatures do as that warm front pushes through. -4 by first thing in the morning in Brandon, -9 in Winnipeg. That cold front, that warm front making its way through the province as we get through the night into the morning hours tomorrow, all the way up to +1 tomorrow, I think. And then -2 for Thursday. And then Brittany, we slide back down to below seasonal by the time we hit the weekend.
Good weekend to stay in bed.
Yes.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. We have more to come after the break. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
This is Manitoba. And this is Manitoba on your smart TV, because CBC News is now streaming local. Local news and weather on your connected TV or favorite device. CBC News Manitoba, streaming now.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford says it's time for Canadian leaders to get their act together. He's calling for a united response to Donald Trump's threat to impose tariffs on all Canadian goods. The 13 premiers will meet with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau Wednesday, with less than a week before Trump returns to the White House. Kate McKenna reports.
The clock is ticking, and Donald Trump's tariffs on Canadian goods could come into effect within a week.
It could cost 500,000 jobs. This is serious. It's unprecedented.
Some provincial officials were out talking about the border, announcing measures to stop illegal drugs and immigration. It's Trump's big ask as premiers push the president-elect for a change of heart on tariffs.
Today, we are here to announce taking some further and additional steps to enhance the integrity of the border.
Saskatchewan promised to redeploy 16 officers for border surveillance. Quebec says it's boosting security here, an area known as the Swanton sector, where 19,000 people crossed illegally last year.
With the RCMP, with the Sûreté du Québec, with different partners, there's around 800 resources on the ground each day to see the situation at the border, to respond to illegal crossing.
But Trump seems determined to bring in tariffs on Canadian goods, seeming to ignore that the extra costs will likely be passed on to American consumers. He posted today he'll create an external revenue service to collect tariffs. The premiers say they're not giving up.
Our commitment is to fight for your jobs. Our commitment is to ensure that through a period of political turbulence and economic uncertainty, that we protect your job and your ability to provide for your family.
Today, the federal finance minister met with Doug Ford. They spoke about the national border plan and the new public safety minister, David McGuinty.
I saw the plan for border security. It's phenomenal. As I said to Minister LeBlanc, have Mr. McGuinty get out there and start promoting it, because it is a solid plan.
Doug Ford also says Ottawa should come up with a stimulus package to help companies if the tariffs go ahead. He'll have the chance to make his case to Justin Trudeau directly when the premiers meet with the Prime Minister tomorrow in Ottawa. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Meantime, a newly released report says Trump engaged in, quote, an unprecedented criminal effort to cling on to power after his 2020 election loss, and could have been found guilty of conspiracy and obstruction of justice if it had gone to trial. Richard Madden has the details from Washington.
Well, this long-awaited report was released overnight, and it's a bit of a long read, some 170 pages, where outgoing special counsel Jack Smith writes he had enough evidence to convict Donald Trump, and he defends his investigation against him. Now, Smith writes Trump abused his power, pressured state officials, and, quote, inspired his supporters to commit physical acts of violence when the votes were being certified on January 6, 2021, in a series of criminal efforts to cling to his presidency. Now, Smith resigned last week ahead of Trump's inauguration, and he denies Trump's accusations that the case was politically motivated, saying that is, quote, laughable. But Smith does acknowledge he had an uphill battle to begin with, citing the U.S. Constitution that bans the prosecution of a sitting president. Smith was also behind the 8 ball to begin with. It took 2 years for the Justice Department to appoint him, which didn't give him a lot of time to build his case. And while much of his evidence was made public through hearings, reporting, and other investigations, the case never made it to trial. So now this whole report is, in a sense, moot, since Trump won the election and says he would have fired Smith anyway. Now, Trump has since hit back, saying Smith was, quote, deranged and his findings were fake. Trump also set the tone a few days ago, anticipating that Smith's report would be made public.
This was an attack on the Republican Party. This was an attack on the Republican candidate who just won an election by record numbers.
Now, Trump has signaled he will pardon many of those convicted for crimes on January 6. But it's also worth noting Smith wrote a second chapter that gets into Trump's handling of classified documents. But a judge has blocked that from being made public, at least for now. So the outgoing Attorney General is heading to court to fight for its release. Richard Madden, CBC News, Washington.
The Liberal leadership race is narrowing and getting clearer. Two well-known names are bowing out, and a big outside contender was on an American late-night talk show to drop hints about joining in. The CBC's Ashley Burke has the latest from Ottawa.
A surprise late-night TV appearance to soft launch a high-profile campaign.
He's a Canadian economist, former governor of the Bank of Canada and Bank of England. Please welcome to the program, Mark Carney. Sir!
The former central banker, who's rarely seen on Canadian TV, teasing his bid to become Liberal leader on the set of a popular American show with lots of Canadian fans.
Have you offered yourself as leader?
I just started thinking about it when you brought it up.
Carney's actually long thought about it, and sources say he'll officially announce he's joining the race to replace Justin Trudeau on Thursday, at a time when Canadians want change.
It's really difficult for a candidate to come in who is saddled with the policies that are on.
But let's say the candidate wasn't part of the government. Let's say the candidate did have a lot of economic experience. Let's say the candidate did deal with crises. Let's say the candidate had a plan to deal with the challenges in the here and now.
Carney's teasing he's running while Canada's industry minister is being frank. He's out.
It was probably one of the most difficult decisions in my life, but I think it's the right one at the right time.
Former BC Premier Christy Clark also making the decision not to run. She's blaming her lack of time to campaign and her French skills that need improvement.
I came out and I supported Jean Charest.
But this interview on CBC's The House, showing her lack of memory about joining the Conservative Party, could have done her in.
You voted in the race, did you not? No, I didn't. And I never got a membership. And I never got a ballot. What I did, though,
I will say, Christy Clark, we reached out to the Conservative Party, who told us, in fact, that your membership was cancelled.
That leaves a lot of space for the youngest contender, House Leader Karina Gould, who sources say will announce her bid this week.
I think it is extremely important that we have a younger voice in the race.
Those who want to lead the Liberal Party have to declare their intentions by next week. Sources say former Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland is expected to launch her campaign by Monday. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
A CBC News investigation has been looking into one of this country's most notorious immigration recruiters, a Toronto businesswoman who's been charging illegal fees to foreign workers in exchange for finding them jobs. This probe is part of a new CBC News series, Welcome to Canada, about immigration issues told through the eyes of people who've experienced them. CBC's Valerie Ouellette reports.
A joyful dance from foreign workers, showing off their work permits, golden tickets to a new life in Canada. Stories like these are all over this recruitment agency's Facebook page. It's called Link for Staff. It's owned by Janet Mosquito. She claims to have helped hundreds of newcomers for a fee. But behind the happy pictures, CBC found a trail of broken dreams.
Everything's a lie.
John Kizo wishes he'd never met her. In March 2023, the international student says he paid the recruiter nearly $3,000 to help him find a job and work permit. He dropped out of college, and Mosquito found him a job, but she never came through with the work permit. Kizo's now living in this homeless shelter, broke and unable to work legally.
I cannot pay the debt. I can't find a job. I can't even support my son.
A CBC investigation has found that Mosquito and her companies have been caught 35 times by the Ministry of Labour charging foreign workers illegal recruitment fees for jobs. That makes her Ontario's top offender. While she was ordered to repay the fees, sometimes with a small penalty. This lawyer says that's not enough to discourage unscrupulous recruiters.
It's like a parking ticket, you know. You park, you get a violation, you pay. That's it. You can do it again.
Under provincial law, repeat offenders can be charged and face jail time. CBC asked the ministry why they haven't pursued Mosquito. They did not answer, but said they will soon introduce tougher measures, including naming and shaming dishonest immigration representatives.
Thank you for calling Link 4 staff.
Meanwhile, Mosquito's company is still open for business. CBC tried contacting her multiple times for comment, but...
Hello, I'm calling from CBC News. They hung up.
Valérie Ouellet, CBC News, Toronto.
Fire crews in Los Angeles are on high alert for new fires that could explode into an inferno. Most worrying for them is intense dry winds.
Severe fire weather conditions will continue through tomorrow. The worst winds are predicted today for the late afternoon and into Wednesday.
Overnight, a new fire erupted in Ventura County, just past Malibu. The wildfires have killed at least 24 people and destroyed thousands of homes over the past week. Search efforts continue for at least 24 people still reported missing. Nearly 90,000 people remain under evacuation orders. Authorities have arrested dozens of people for looting and arson. They shoot, they score, and they win. Coming up after the break, we'll introduce you to two sisters from LaSalle. They're not only making waves in the hockey world, but also the history books. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Stay with us. Two Manitoba sisters have made Canadian history. On Sunday, Sarah and Kate Mannis stood atop the world stage with their teammates after capturing gold at the Women's Under-18 Hockey Championship. The 17-year-olds are the fifth set of sisters to represent Canada at the U18 Women's Worlds, but they're the very first to do it together. And straight off their win in Finland, the duo join me now. Thank you to you both so much for joining us. First off,
thank you.
A very, very big congratulations to you both on the win. How are you feeling?
Thank you so much. It feels amazing. I haven't stopped thinking about it really. It still doesn't really seem real, honestly. Yeah, like it feels so unreal. Like the thought that like this is something we dream about, like that game, like to win gold, like it just feels amazing.
I know you both must be extremely tired. You had a travel day from Finland yesterday and you're back in Ontario right now. I want to touch base just a little bit on playing together as sisters. You've always played together on the same teams. I have 3 siblings. I can't imagine doing everything with my sibling. We're all very competitive. So what is it like playing together? Is there any sort of rivalry, competitiveness? Talk to me about that.
We're always competing with each other, like especially when we're doing development or training. So like we're always competing, always trying to make each other better. And then just like playing on the same team, we always kind of look for each other on the ice and we always kind of know where each other are and like know what to expect. Yeah, we used to have like an outdoor rink at our house in LaSalle, and so we would do like a lot of one-on-ones, even though there wasn't that much room. But I think like we did it so much, it kind of just like built up into becoming better at it, and obviously we wanted to win every single time. So I think it made us more competitive and probably a lot better in the long run too.
Well, you are Manitobans, you just said that. You both started by playing hockey on boys' teams. So what was that like, and do you think that helped you with your training?
Yeah, it was always like competitive and you always had to work a little bit extra harder to like fit in with the boys and be up there. So that definitely kind of helped us compete harder and like train more. Yeah, I'd say like the compete that the boys had was really, really strong. I mean, every single one of them wanted to be the best. And so like in order to thrive in that kind of hockey, you have to work super hard and compete super hard and work really hard on and off the ice to become stronger, better, faster. So I think when we made the switch to girls hockey, it wasn't too hard of a switch. I think we were prepared, and yeah, it helped us out a lot for sure.
Well, you're both role models for so many Manitobans here and so many Canadians. What was it like to be able to play for your country?
To play for my country was amazing. I mean, I think you even appreciate it more the second year because the second year, this is my second year for playing on the U18 team, and I think like you just look back, even like after the first Worlds I had, you just look back and you think how amazing it was being able to represent your country and being one of those players out there that can make a difference. And so it never gets old. It's amazing every time I put the jersey on, and I'm so thankful to have been able to represent Canada. Yeah, it's such an honor to represent like your country and like wear that logo. It feels so great, and like this is like what you train for your whole life, kind of to get to this moment, and just like getting that gold medal just felt amazing.
Very quickly, what is next for you both?
I guess just finishing the year here in Burlington, hopefully winning another provincial championship, national championship. And then we're both going to Clarkson next year. So I'm super excited for that, and hopefully have a great start there. Yep.
Congratulations to you both. Canada was here cheering you on. Big congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Love it. They told me they were very tired still because they had to fly from Finland to Germany to Ontario. It was a long travel day, and good for them as siblings playing together always. I skated with my siblings, but we didn't have to do it like that.
No,
There'd be a lot of battles, I think, in my family at least. So another big congratulations to them.
For sure.
Going to be a nice day tomorrow. Going to be warmer, but windier, and then the weekend.
Yeah, that sums it up. That sums it up. I thought we'd do the catnapping forecast just because it's been so cold for most of us in the province, and it's a good time just to kind of lay back for a bit.
Yeah.
But you know what? Hey, keep sending me your dogs because I want to get the dog walking forecast back going tomorrow once we dip above seasonal again. So tonight we have B. Thank you, Jess, for sending this picture. And B, probably happy inside these past couple of days because it's been so cold. Talkback at cbc.ca is where you can send your pictures to dogs, cats, whichever pet you have. Although I will point out the colder temperatures have been good for outdoor ice making, the outdoor rinks. So yeah, we do need some of these cold January temperatures to go along with the winter as well. So up to +1 tomorrow. Winds start to shift around as we get into the afternoon, southwest 20 to 40. I'll talk about wind in a little bit more detail in just a moment here, but you can start to see, so we're on the warm side of this jet stream as we get into the day tomorrow. That warm front combined with the jet stream will help warm us up as we get through the day on Wednesday. But look at what happens to our upper level atmosphere as we get through Thursday and certainly into the weekend. Some of our coldest air of the winter season starting to sink southward from the Arctic as we get Saturday into Sunday. Some of these pink colors here representing close to or colder than -30 as we get through into Sunday. So we're looking at some cold temperatures setting in as we get toward the weekend. -19s, -20s. In most cases, we're at these temperatures already. Temperatures continuing to rise through the overnight hours, -14 in Swan River for an overnight temperature, and a little bit more snow as we get into northern Manitoba. As we head into the day on Wednesday, we are looking at winds picking up. So by lunchtime, 30 gusting 50, could even see some gusts, particularly through south central Manitoba, up to 60 through the afternoon into the evening. So this combined with the temperatures really going to might be a hindrance on the highways, particularly as we see some of this freeze-thaw happening, particularly into northwestern Manitoba, where we have temperatures at -1 for Flin Flon and the Pas through the afternoon hours. Tomorrow in the south, we get grazed here in Winnipeg by some of the snow overnight. More of an event through eastern Manitoba into northwestern Ontario tomorrow, and even a bit of sun back to the west. But again, we're getting into that freeze-thaw cycle as we get into the day again tomorrow. Temperatures close to freezing combined with some of that wind, and particularly if you get caught in some of the snow, this could mean some dicey driving conditions, particularly out on the open highways on the perimeter, for example, as we head into the later afternoon and certainly into the evening tomorrow. I've got your 7-day forecast coming up, Brittany.
Okay, thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
The Keenan Indigenous Theatre Festival is happening this weekend at Prairie Theatre Exchange. CBC Manitoba community reporter Shannalee Vidal stopped by for a preview.
A new festival will put a spotlight on Indigenous theatre in Manitoba. The 2-day event will feature emerging playwrights and will revisit an award-winning classic.
I have a children's piece that is part of the festival. It's called Minush Kapashu, and it's actually a Southern Michif kind of language piece, but it's also a clown piece for young kids and families, and I play a cat who goes camping and finds a friend in a funny place. So Minush has been traveling for a little while and has arrived in a place where she notices there was some friends around and the Red River Jig is playing. And so Minush loves jigging, can't help herself, and starts to dance the jig. But she's been traveling for a little while, so she gets very tired. And eventually the exhaustion overtakes her and she just can't keep up with the jig anymore, even though she loves dancing so much.
Gone She's Gone is a tale about 3 sisters. They are navigating this dystopian post-apocalyptic world. What really excites me about jumping into this fantasy sci-fi genre is you don't see a lot of that in theater, actually, fantasy or sci-fi. And furthermore, you don't really see Indigenous characters on stage in this sort of genre, and I'm really excited to jump into that and challenge the mold of what Indigenous theater is.
To end off the festival, we have a reading of Ian Ross's Governor General's award-winning play, Farewell, which has invited back the original cast, most of the original cast, to come and do a reading of this really groundbreaking for Indigenous theater in Manitoba play.
How did the idea to put on this festival come about?
Through my conversations with a lot of our artists, there seemed to be an issue about getting particularly artists from here, out onto national and international stages, and creating more opportunities for the plays to be actually produced and shown to our community, and for arts workers like set builders or sound designers. And so we kind of lose our talent, which is, there's so much talent here that I thought the festival might be able to provide just a small space for us to all gather and together and meet each other and support each other's work and whatever we're trying to do.
The Kianon Indigenous Theatre Festival runs January 18th and 19th at Prairie Theatre Exchange in Winnipeg. For CBC Manitoba, I'm Shanalee Vidal.
Here's another look at the wolf moon over Winnipeg last night. Riley's back with the last check on our forecast after the break. Stay with us. We're back right after this.
Here's your 7-day forecast. So tomorrow, kind of the anomaly of the week with this high of +1. Then we start to sink down a little bit as we get into Thursday. Still above seasonal, -2 with a chance we could see some light snow later in the day. We have a better chance of that, I think, coming on Friday. But look at these winds, northwest 40 gusting to 60 on Friday. Then we really sink down after that. -19 for Saturday, only getting up to -24s and 25s. By the time we get to early next week.
Ooh, I don't like that 3 there with the...
14 king penguins, a species known to walk long distances in the wild to find open water, kicked off their annual walk at the Calgary Zoo for the 13th year.
The walk had been delayed by warm weather and winds, but once conditions were just right, they waddled their way out to the awaiting crowds.
The ones going for the walk are going to be our king penguins, they're the largest species that we have here at the zoo. This is a sub-Antarctic species, so you find them sort of on the islands kind of around Antarctica, so they're not a true Antarctic species. So they're well adapted for cold temperatures as well as warmer temperatures. So it gives them lots of opportunities to kind of walk throughout the winter here in Calgary with our kind of crazy weather that we get. We want to make sure that when they are outside and they are walking, the parameters are safe for them. So for us, that means that the temperatures need to be at 5 degrees Celsius or below, and the winds need to be below 20 kilometers an hour. And that's just because penguins are susceptible to a disease called aspergillosis, which is a fungal infection. So we want to make sure we are not introducing them to any of those fungal spores. And we know that fungus is active above +5 Celsius. And then we know when the winds are above 20 kilometers an hour, that's when the wind can pick up those spores and blow them around. Birds, when it's this time of year, they're waiting at the door as soon as the animal care staff come in. They're waiting to come outside. When they come outside, they kind of go to the gate. They love the hill that's right there. They sun themselves, and then once it's walk time, they're all lined up ready to go to come out. We're really excited to get the birds out and moving and getting some exercise and getting some enrichment.
I want to know if one is always the leader.
I know.
If it's the same leader penguin the whole time.
Someone who doesn't mind the cold weather.
Right? I love it. Might have to go to Calgary to see them.
Exactly.
Well, you're going to have a beautiful day tomorrow. Stay warm over the next few days. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.
See ya.